I have a confession to make to start off. I didn't do this to really advance telecommuting. We had a series of business issues that we needed to deal with, because as everybody knows, there's nothing going on with healthcare these days. You know, people are looking for ways to actually reform healthcare, and part of our sort of thought process that went into this up front is that if we really wanted to be able to do healthcare, and if our CEO was standing here, he'd tell you he's tired of defending a broken system and it's time to really start to get on with the reform effort, is that we were going to need to develop new capabilities within Fairview to be able to effectively pull that off. And I was sitting in my office one day, and Ronnie Christensen, one of the staff members, came into me and said, I got this real neat idea that you might want to be interested in taking a look at relative to ROWE. And I said, well, what is it? And, you know, can you put the people, you know, can you get people that are working on that sort of in front of me, and we can have a conversation. And we had a conversation for about 15 minutes, and I said, could we start tomorrow? Because really what I needed to be able to do is to create an environment where, if you look at in our IT organization, the types of work that they were doing at that time are very different than the types of work that they needed to be able to do in the future. And in that discussion, we had a whole series of issues about how do you create capacity. And I really needed to create about 50, to get them to be about 50% more productive, and to be able to do that in a way where their quality of life, both at home and at work, was better, so that they could actually create the tools and capabilities that we needed to be able to advance our capabilities as an organization, so that we could be a major player in the reform effort. So that was our motivation. It turns out that it was great that we were able to partake in some of the grant mechanisms to be able to fund the development of this. And what I'm going to do now is step you through where we are today. We're not done. We don't know everything. It's not perfect yet, but we're starting to see some anecdotal results relative to us being able to do this. Not only from sort of what we might be doing from reducing congestion on the 35W corridor, but also from the ability of us being able to create those capabilities that we need to be able to carry out the reform initiative. So we're kind of getting multiple things done with one set of strategies. We did this work inside our IT organization. One of my roles is to be the Chief Information Officer, so I had to worry about how we were going to take 340 people, get the extra 50% capacity out of them, and so that they can support the 7 hospitals and all the clinics that we have, and the 22,000 employees, and the 3,400 credentialed physicians, and just everything that was just kind of building it, and all of which the models and the operating models will change over the next 3 years. So how would we support that, and how would we recreate that capacity? One of the things that goes on in healthcare in general, and I think it was going definitely on inside of the IT environment, it's a group that likes structure, but doesn't like to be structured. And, they were doing a whole series of activities that they felt were really important relative to them to be able to deliver their skills and capabilities, and not really thinking a lot about the outcomes. And so part of the fundamental shift that we did with the ROWE process is to begin to get everybody to think first about the outcomes that were required, and then to both create the environment in which they worked and the activities that would be contributing to the work that needed to be done for us to achieve the results. A huge fundamental shift, and quite frankly, that's a huge fundamental shift for healthcare in general. Today we get paid for doing things, we don't get paid for outcomes, and that's all about what reform is going to be about. So we also saw it as an opportunity to begin to fundamentally shift how we would go about looking at the way we conducted our business in general. In fact, one of the pieces of research that's going on at the University of Minnesota that I'm very interested in is how would you take some of this work and actually apply it to actual clinical environments, nursing units, and the like. The real interesting part about this, and the way I like to state it, is it's so simple, it's elegant, because it's all about results. How you frame the work, how you decide what you're going to do, how you decide where you're going to do it, how you decide when you're going to do it, is all driven by your process that you will actually do to drive to the results. So we're really doing a very fundamental shift that's going on in the process. We too adopted this. I will tell you that our management team had real trouble with the following things. They didn't like to be called and be told that they were really working in a 1950s type of environment. When a fair amount of the teams that we were working with inside the IT organization was used to having the tools and used to, using all the social media applications and the like to conduct every other part of their life, but they weren't allowed to do it to conduct their work at work. And sort of why not? And so it was a struggle. And I'll have to tell you, it was a struggle for some of the employees as well, as they began to think about how they would actually conduct their work when someone wasn't actually telling them what to do day in and day out. And, so we're getting through that process. And again, why did we do it? We did it because I needed 50% extra capacity. They had been dumped upon for years. We used to, when I actually started at Fairview, I was doing some consulting work, and everybody would describe the IT environment as a treadmill. People would come by with new work. They wouldn't give them a better treadmill. They would just increase the speed on the treadmill. And they had about 1,500 other management staff throughout the whole organization coming over and just keep pumping up the speed. And basically what's happening was they had gotten themselves into an environment where they no longer could be effective because they had so much coming at them. And so that was the whole notion of how would we go about and increase their capacity by 50%, and yet still create a work life that made sense for them. And I believe we've made that switch. We went through a process, and I'm sure if you're really interested in the mechanics of going through this, because it's in-depth and it's very well done by the Culture RX folks. It really does work on the culture first. When I first started this, I said, why do they call themselves Culture RX? So they go, this is all about changing the process. Well, no, it wasn't. It was all about changing the culture first and getting people into a mindset that this was okay, getting the management teams aligned with the staff so that we could make sure that we did it. And we've gone through this process. We started, I guess, right around the first of the year, and we went through a process to go through and think about the culture and all the difference. Quite entertaining, by the way, and to actually listen to all of the work. And as we kind of step through that now, we've launched it. People can create their own work environments, and it truly is, you have to create your own work environment. We're not prescriptive about the tools that you will use. We're not prescriptive about how fast you would advance in it. You really need to be able to do this as an individual to create those work environments, and we've allowed them to do that. And as they've stepped through that, they've worked through all the different things about what type of technology do I use.